General Electric began with Thomas Edison's invention of the light bulb in 1876. Since then, of course, it's grown into a global giant with operations around the world. Now GE is in the midst of transforming itself away from some of those old lines of business and heading in a new direction. I recently had an exclusive opportunity to sit down with GE's CEO, Jeffrey Immelt. In the first part of our conversation, I started by asking what he hopes to achieve with the recent sale of GE's iconic appliances business.
So I think we have a pretty clear understanding of what we think we're good at. You know, technology, globalization, intimacy with customers, scale. And we think global infrastructure markets fit that to a T. And so that's what we've really transformed ourselves to be, really what I would call a pure play infrastructure company. So we've sold plastics, NBC, a series of businesses. We acquired Alstom. And appliances really, good business, a historic business, carries a GE brand, but we felt like it didn't really fit those kinds of models of what we consider to be a great GE business, and one that we brought all our core competency, and then commercial finance on the financial service side. And then trying to get to 75% industrial, 25% financial. And as part of all of that, we've done a lot of work over the last decade, but I actually like where we are today. I think we're at a much more, looking forward, I like the portfolio we have today.
In fact, it seems as though you're designing a company as old as it is, as storied as your history is, that's really more about where we're going. You don't just make products anymore, right? I mean, just to describe the thinking around, you don't want to just sell a great engine, you want to sell an engine that talks.
It's the way technology has evolved. So I've always felt like you need to follow every industry and your customers wherever they go, and science wherever it goes. So we're a company that grew up around physics and material science, but today every one of our products is surrounded by 20 or 30 sensors. They're producing terabytes of data every year. That data can be modeled to provide better performance, reduce downtime, things like that are valued by our customers. So our thesis is every industrial company is going to be an analytics and software company. And we want to lead that theme, and we're investing behind it. And we're already seeing, good results. So I just think if you want to last a long time, you have to be fast on your feet, both from a portfolio standpoint in the case of GE, but also from a capability standpoint in terms of investments in analytics and software.
When you think about where you're going, you're a truly global company now. You'll be the first American company to surpass $100 billion in revenue outside of America. Does that continue? Do you wind up being based in America, but actually,
Look, I think there will always be a place for GE in the United States. So we always believe that the U.S. market is a core market. But we follow our businesses where they go. And you've got a third of the world that doesn't have electricity. That's not true in the United States. They're in Africa and Asia and places like that. That is a massive growth opportunity for us. Healthcare growth in China, water, the importance of water in the Middle East, new oil and gas in Latin America or Canada or places like that. That's our future. So I can only see globalization being more a part of GE in the future as we go forward.
What is your expectation for growth in Canada? You do business here. What do you want to see out of it?
I grew up thinking that Canada only had a role as a NAFTA country, right? So the association with the United States, that's always going to be important. But we look at Canada like a resource-rich country that's both has the opportunity to develop its natural resources, but also has the opportunity to transform its industrial base as it goes forward in the future as well. And we think GE can play both those themes. And so I'm disappointed if Canada doesn't grow 2 or 3 times the United States because of that.
And you are obviously growing globally. Where's the innovation coming in this? Is it still American innovation, or do you innovate all over the world?
So we have research centers all over the world. We have research centers. We're opening up one in Brazil around oil and gas. We're in China. We're in Germany. So the ideas come from all over the world. We're at such a scale that we can do engineering and do products all over the world. But there's something special today about Silicon Valley. I have to tell you, man, there is a renaissance of science and innovation and entrepreneurship that's going on there that you're crazy if you don't try to tap into. So we have a couple thousand employees that are in Silicon Valley as well. But we have an open mind. We do business with a lot of small companies, and we think we can learn things from all of them.
So the The rumors of the American economy's demise are exaggerated?
You know, there's such resilience and diversity of the U.S. economy. But I think there's an important point, which is, you know, between 1980, let's say in the financial crisis, the GDP growth was maybe 3.5% a year. Now we're 2 to 2.5. That 1% growth difference, you know, on an economy of the U.S.'s size is the difference between solving a ton of problems and job creation and things like that. So I still think growth in the U.S. isn't for certain, and we all have to be really focused on making the country more competitive.
We've seen a whole host of American businesses that grew up there and capitalized there, doing through whether it's tax inversions or just retained earnings offshore, sort of avoiding, I guess, paying what some would see as their fair share of American taxes. Do you take a view of that?
Look, we need tax reform. You know, the tax reform is old. You're always going to, you know, there's plenty of things to criticize companies over, but the tax system needs to be reformed. It was done in the 1980s. It's not contemporary for, you know, the way business is done today. I understand why people criticize it. I understand why people criticize inversions and GE's tax rate and other people's tax rates. But what we need to do is have, you know, systemic corporate tax reform. You know, we believe in a territorial system. We would take the tax system in Germany tomorrow, right? In other words, it's not like we want something just for GE.
Yeah.
But I understand the criticism at the same time. I just think, you know, everybody knows what we need. The system's old, it's out of date, and it's got to change.
And yet, it's not likely to change. In fact, there's a kind of a sense of cynicism around any meaningful reform happening in the U.S. And other places, but that just politically, yours is a country that's really kind of dysfunctional right now. Is that solvable? Are you optimistic about it?
Gosh, you know, I think it's hard to see how it's going to happen, really. But I got to believe it's possible. You know, I'm an avid reader of history, and if you read American history, you know, there is lots of times, like the time we're living in right now, where there's conflict and debate, and the political parties don't get along. And I just think it's going to take leadership. It's going to take political leadership. It's going to take political will, and business can play a role, but we can't do it, you know, unless there's a real, I'd say, vision for the country that we can all get behind. And I just think we've got to solve some of today's problems, but we need to come together in some way over the long term, or else this doesn't get better.